a Protect the 8th Talk and Training workshop tonight.
That's
Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so what exactly would that involve?
If it's the same as the last ones, it'll talk about how to defend the 8th Amendment.
Okay.
On the doors and on the streets.
Yeah. And who exactly will be coming to that now? Like, just general?
Tonight, I don't know. Most people will be out on the canvas. Most of our applicants will be out on the canvas tonight as well.
Yeah.
So that's out on the old Cratlow Road tonight. I think it's Paddy Manning, Michael Dwyer and Becky Keeley giving that talk.
Yeah, they have them in. And do you find they would be effective then?
Oh, they are very effective.
Yeah,
they are very effective.
In what way? Just to kind of like spread more of the message and everything about pro-life, or
and explaining how to present the pro-life view.
Okay.
Yeah.
And probably because people who have that like real passion about life and that everybody has a human right to life.
Yeah.
That, you know, sometimes it can be very frustrating for people who know inherently that this is the case and yet don't know how to present give expression to what they like intrinsically know, you know. And
actually, a point I want to mention, because a lot of people now say, even in the university, you know, the University of Limerick would say, okay, it's a pro-choice campus now after the vote, but then there'd be people in, say, our class, if we're having a discussion about the 8th Amendment, who would be pro-life, who feel that maybe their opinion can't be heard as much.
Exactly.
Sometimes they think that the pro-life opinion is nearly harder to have.
Yes.
Yeah, I think sometimes as well with the universities, they're so liberal at the moment as well. And I've actually a friend that's doing a master's in UL at the moment, and he said that recently UL came out with the Students' Union, and they actually sent out an email to all students on campus saying that they had to take a stance on whether to be neutral or else pro-choice, but I don't think there was a pro-life.
Yeah, that's very true.
Isn't it amazing that when we talk today about tolerance, like that actually the very liberal side of our society has become quite intolerant.
Yeah.
Intolerant of anybody's views like ours to protect life.
Yeah.
But I do think, like, at the same time, there are a lot of people that are pro-life. There is kind of this notion out there at the moment that most people are pro-choice, but we were only saying there that all of us went to the rally up in Dublin recently, and there were a huge numbers of people. Like, it was insane. Like, I really didn't think that there would be that many people there.
Because sometimes the media perception, I feel, comes across that it's like, it'll absolutely be a yes vote, like it will be repealed, you know. Would you say that would you be optimistic that it will come out in the end, that the amendment will be saved?
I think the people,
Go ahead.
I think the people on the ground are pro-life.
Okay.
I think that this whole thing is politically driven.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, and it's very much backed by a very liberal media that we have at the moment.
Yeah.
And this is really why people come out like this to meetings tonight, or to go call door to door. We had 20 or 25 last Wednesday. They go out most nights of the week. But it's because of this. You're at home in your sitting room, you look at television and you hear the same line all the time, you know? And it's like as if there's a disassociation between the ruling class and the people on the ground.
Yeah.
That's my feeling.
Going to be voting as well. Yeah.
You know, and they're doing everything they can to remove that voice from people, you know, and they're succeeding in intimidating people.
Yeah.
I would say that is very true. Although I would pay a huge tribute to Peadar Tóibín, right, and to the Healy-Raes. The Healy-Raes, like Danny Healy-Ray, might not be the greatest speaker. I've listened to him a couple of times in Dáil Éireann, but I admire anybody who will stand up to the, you know, the given, the intellectually accepted voice, and the basically not being allowed to have a voice that's different.
Yeah.
But Peadar Tóibín of Sinn Féin, he was the same. I mean, he gave, I don't know if you've heard it, but did you hear it?
Yeah, I did.
But I mean, really, he is such a brave man. Yeah. I'm not a Sinn Féin follower. I've never voted Sinn Féin.
Yeah.
But I felt like if I had him there as the leader, I'm Sinn Féin in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean, we have very poor leaders in Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. Very poor. They don't listen to the people. No. They have their own agendas.
That's very true. Yeah.
I think as well, like, we're lucky in this country that we're going to have a vote on it, because at the end of the day it's going to come down to the polling stations, and whether or not the media sees it that it's a pro-choice or a pro-life country, in the end of the day, like, realistically with the vote we're going to know in the end.
Exactly.
You know. And there's this idea that Ireland isn't a modern country because abortion isn't here, but actually we're lucky because we actually have one of the most modern constitutions as far as I'm concerned, because we're given with the government, we get to oppose things in the constitution, or we get to vote on everything, which is good. whereas a lot of places in Europe or even the
They
other
don't
side of the
even have
world.
written
Yeah, they
constitutions.
don't. In England, they don't
I
have a
think it
written.
should be remembered. It seems to be an ongoing attack on the Constitution, calling it the 1937 Constitution. But I think that's a good year to remember. When the rest of Europe was turning to fascism, we had a written constitution that empowered the people and not a dictator. Other countries were saying they want a dictator. Britain never had a written constitution. Their government has the supreme rule there. So our constitution is actually a very progressive thing. Now, it's historical, and we change as society changes. So it's actually it's a very important document, and we shouldn't take it for granted.
And do you think at the moment the way the constitution is, it gives equal right to the mother and the child?
Absolutely, and
it recognises their equal right to life, but I think if you read the wording, it gives precedence to the mother. I mean, it's the exact wording of it, Article 40, Section 3. It says, the state acknowledges the right to life of the unborn and with due regard to the equal right to life of the mother, guarantees by its laws to respect and as far as practicable by its laws to defend and vindicate that right. So there is precedence to the life of the mother. So if the mother's life is at risk, her life takes precedence.
Of course. So in a way it is, like, I suppose a lot of people will be kind of using the amendment to kind of suit themselves, put it in their own way to kind of whatever way, like you said, it was the 1937, you know, it's an old constitution.
But can I sorry to interrupt you, can I just say one casualty of this debate is truth and fact.
Okay.
I think that's a very, would you agree, that's a fair comment? Because there's a lot of posing, suggesting, for example, even with Savita Halappanavar, being used continuously when it had absolutely nothing to do with abortion. Nothing. And I mean, we have, and I think, sorry now, I know it's
okay.
in your area, like say the media, if you like, but like I do think that the media, in this case, I just have it here, they're guilty of further deception in that after the HSE report confirmed the facts of her death by sepsis, the media didn't correct their previously false report. So it's convenient for them to use truth selectively to further their own agenda, you know. These are the frustrating things that we're all up against, you know.
Especially when it's not true.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Do you think then that repeal basically translates to abortions on demand? Would that be your feeling?
Yes. I've been saying it for a long time. This actually debate we're having is not about choice, it's actually about the value we have for human life. And what the repeal people want to say is that the unborn child in the womb has no value. And is disposable and can be disposed of as medical waste. But it is human life, and it has to be acknowledged as human life. That's where we all began.
And equal value.
I think it'll be a cultural change, and the country will change. The mindset will change when people are encouraged to see the unborn child has no value.
But sometimes people don't want to include that because it's kind of at the back of their mind. They don't want to.
We need to realise that as well that it's about bodily autonomy of the unborn child also. You know, I think that's really important.
With the separate DNA, completely separate DNA.
Sometimes euphemisms are used to, say that it's not a baby or it's not a person or it's not a life, but it is. And scientists even have said from the get-go, like from conception, it is a life.
So it's growing, it's human, and it can't be anything else. I mean, it's not going to be an elephant or a dog, it's going to be a human being, and it's growing, so it's alive. And from the moment of conception, it'll be determined whether it's going to be a boy or a girl. If it's a girl, the number of eggs that it'll have as a woman are determined at that point genetically. Even aspects of your personality are determined at that point. So we know a lot now from fetology. When abortion was first out there in the 60s and even in the 40s and 50s, they didn't have embryology as a science. They didn't have fetology as a science. But we know a lot more now about human biology than we did then. And we can definitely say, that that's a human being.
And can I just go back to that other point there? I think Padre Tobin brought it up in the Dáil, that he himself was shocked about the Citizens' Assembly, where they actually were discussing when abortion would be allowed, and they created 3 grades of humans: those who were normal, right, who one might want to abort for one reason or another, those who had fatal fetal abnormalities, and those who had non-fatal fetal abnormalities, but probably had disability or for whatever, cleft palate or whatever reason, and it's completely contrary to the whole notion of equality, rich, poor, clever, not clever, whatever, you know. People are equal. If we lose that human right, we've lost the game, basically, you know. And Ireland is, I think it's a bastion to the world because, you know, internationally, a lot of governments have gone down these roads of providing abortion. And I just think that they're politically driven, as in, like, I know, in fact, that there's a population control agenda there as well, but they really want Ireland to remove the 8th Amendment because they know it's working. It's actually working. It's saving people's lives. And the very final thing I'd say, I don't want to monopolise here, but it's very important to remember that governments should be driving economically people who have, like, why do women have abortions? Why do they feel, you know, they need to have abortions? Why are governments not addressing these issues? Let's talk about real compassion. Killing people is not compassion. Giving them money, providing them with, you know, that kind of counselling and, you know, financially so that they can continue, you know, with their pregnancies.
Just you were saying about how the 8th had saved lives, and that is an actual fact. I mean, I think everyone here, if you think about it, knows someone who's been saved by the 8th Amendment. And I'm only discussing this with a friend of mine whose son was saved because she had considered having an abortion when she was pregnant with him. And she had pressure from friends to go to England because they had done it, they had gone to England, and they were saying this, you know, I think sometimes maybe because they wanted her to do it as well, to be in the club or something. But she didn't. She gave birth.
She didn't want it.
She didn't. She considered it though. She did consider it, and she called in to chat to me and my wife. And at the time we were living together in town, so we had a flat. We had no kids of our own. Shortly after, though, we were expecting as well. But we talked her out of it. Basically.
That's it.
And he's 15 now today, and you know he's very, very productive young man. I won't go in. I don't want to reveal who he is, but you know, he's making contributions even at 15 to society. You know, so I think, and we all know people who've been saved by the 8th. Because if abortion was the norm, if it was just kind of, well, it's what you do. It's just, you know, an appointment could have been made and would have been gone.
And then those poor women who did make that choice, you know, guided by very irresponsible people, I think, and then they're left with that, like, for the rest of their lives.
I suppose there is a point as well, though, that some women who may have had an abortion would be happy with their decision as well. Like not in every case would everyone be devastated.
No, I do accept that. Not everyone is devastated by what they do, you know.
Well, I suppose, look, you know what, I know we hear that all the time, and we've heard women come out and say, well, I was happy enough, I had an abortion. But life is long, and I don't know about you, or you, but sometimes you say you're happy about something. Later on, it comes up, you look on things in a different light. We all do things when we're younger sometimes that we don't, that we regret, that we wish we hadn't done later.
And even, I mean, realistically at the same time, like, just because someone feels comfortable with that, do we say that it's okay to get rid of a life? I mean, I personally think that it's important to save life no matter what. And I'm a woman, and I'm a young woman as well, and I really think that women's rights and everything are important. But once there is another person involved, then I think their rights also need to be.
Just the point, sorry to interrupt you, just about the fatal fetal abnormalities. Just if the baby is not going to survive to full term, like, you'd be of the opinion that the mother should still carry it.
Well, that's not a medical diagnosis. That's a political term. Fatal fetal abnormality is not actually a medical diagnosis. That's show me where it says in any medical book. I have a pregnancy book here. You can see if you can find it. It's not a medical term. It's a political term. Fetal abnormality may be. But you cannot tell if fatal actually means you're dead. A fatal wound means you're dead. The child is not dead, it's still alive. So you can't tell how long it'll live afterwards, so it's still a human life.
And actually, doctors have been asked as well, haven't they, Colin, that, you know, they have been asked, can you tell when this child will die? They might, maybe that term is used, but what does it really mean? In real life terms, like I think Father Tobin mentioned again, a girl with trisomy 13, I think, and it was under the heading of fatal fetal abnormalities. But that girl is alive, and she's 10 years old. So, you know, these things, he gave her name and everything, I have it here somewhere. But anyway, Kathleen Rose Harkin. But I mean, she's alive, so... And then, you know what, I always, just in the quiet of my own mind, I think, Well, we all have parents. In my case, my parents are dead. And I know with my father, before he died, we knew he was going to die. Because he was going to die, and he only had a very little time, a week, 2 weeks. Should we kill him straight away? Because after all, he is going to die. That's not a human thing to do, you know? We have to respect each other.
I don't understand as well how it would help the grieving process if you're told, well, your child may not live, how it helps to kill your child early. I don't understand. No one's ever explained to me, and I've never heard it on television or the radio, how that actually helps someone's grieving process, that we'll terminate your pregnancy now because it's not going to survive, how that'll help the expectant mother, or that's not, I don't understand, I'll be honest with you, how it actually resolves anything. A friend of mine had to carry a child who was actually dead, had died inside her, and she had to carry it for 2 weeks before going to be induced, because you have to make an appointment with the hospital, you have to go through the process, and she had to go through the process of giving birth. Unfortunately, and an abortion also will involve, in later terms, giving birth as well.
Very true.
You know,
that is a good point.
So, and sometimes diagnosis, like they say about Down syndrome, is another thing. 90% of those diagnosed with Down syndrome in the womb are aborted, apparently, but they're often wrong and misdiagnosed. But again, that's devaluing the life of someone with Down syndrome. You're saying that your value is no worth. That's what the fascists did. They rounded them up. At least if we're honest, they rounded them up when they were alive. You gassed them. But that you're saying, we get him in the womb, it's okay if we get him in the womb.
Yeah.
That's I don't understand the mentality. It's very hard for me to comprehend.
Yeah.
And actually at the rally we had a talk given by somebody who has Down syndrome, and she was fantastic. What was her name?
Charlie Feen.
Charlie Feen. And she was, don't be afraid of me.
Yeah.
I think it's our perception of other people. Yeah. And it gives the sense that if we don't think someone has value, we'll get rid of them. But she was quite happy with herself, and she valued herself, you know. So who are we, you know, to decide that she has no right?
Her life has no worth.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you must be unhappy because you're not attractive in my eyes, or you're not as clever in my eyes, so therefore you must be an unhappy individual with your life. I think most people who are alive are happy to be alive.
Just the other point that, say, like the pro-choice people would always, I suppose, throw at you as well, is in the case of if someone is raped. How would you say that, besides just having an abortion, rape victims could be accommodated maybe better in Ireland in that case?
Does anyone do the potential rapist? As some of the pro-choice it's not. I don't see why you would punish the child. I mean, I'd say as a father, I have no daughters, but I will consider the question. I have 3 sons. But if I had a daughter, and if I imagine my daughter was raped, would I, as a grandfather, want to have my grandchild killed? How will it won't unrape her, and it's going to put her through another trauma. And I think statistically, most women actually who are raped, and it's very rare that it happens when they get pregnant, the majority keep their child. You know.
But I think you were asking how you'd care for that person.
But besides people just saying, oh, well, you were raped, you have an abortion, that'll solve it.
I know.
Is there
well, I suppose we don't have that provision here. I mean, not that I'm aware of, do we? But I mean, I think I covered this with you before there. I think the government, if they really care about people, they put money, and they say, oh, well, this happens and that happens. But if they already know, why? Isn't that what we elect them for? To address these issues, to create very safe, very caring, responses.
I think as well the rape issue is obviously really a highly sensitive one, and there's kind of this attitude at the moment that pro-life people are not empathetic to people that have been raped, and obviously we all are, and that's a tragic situation. But Ben Shapiro in America, he's really good at speaking about this, because he always says that the child should be punished first, but really there should be more severe consequences for the person that actually did the action.
Yes, and we forget about that, Amy, don't we? Really, the rapist is often, it's all about what are we going to do about this little baby, get rid of it. But we forget all about the real criminal who should be. And I was just reading, Eartha Kitt was the victim. She was the baby whose mother, had been raped. And I think Ronaldo was another one, So I mean, like, why do we always focus on the innocent child who's done absolutely nothing wrong,
That's very true.
But I really agree with it. It's good to bring up that point about greater care for women. If you really care, greater care, and that whole issue to be addressed, But Catherine's opponent, Leo Varadkar, don't seem to be doing anything about that or care anything, even though they talk about caring. I don't see any sign of it whatsoever.
Yeah. And then if they're saying, say, if the amendment is repealed, the unrestricted access then for up to 12 weeks, what would be your stance on that then?
Obviously we're opposed to it.
Yeah.
It's again, it's the evaluation of human life. You're saying that the human life has absolutely no worth, thing. It's disposable up until 12 weeks, and then some point at 12 weeks it magically has. It magically becomes of value.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know why that is the 12-week mark, because there's different stages. At 11 weeks, it's a fetus. It's fully formed, and I have a little model there, as you can see, and that's verifiable in size and everything. And
at 11 weeks.
At 11 weeks, it's the Collins Pregnancy Week by Week Guide. So it's not a pro-life literature. It's an actual science book. I think the reason why it's 12 weeks is so that they can facilitate surgical abortions, and so that we can have abortion clinics. It's a business, it's an industry, and I don't know, but I do believe that the likes of Mary Stopes probably have buildings sited, if not already bought, around the country where they will open up their clinics. It's a money-making industry.
Absolutely, it's economically driven.
It's
huge money in abortion.
So people need to ask themselves how they feel. I mean, abortion clinics, they won't be just done in hospitals. They'll be opened up on your, like McConnell Avenue. They'll be opened up on your street. That's the way they operate in England. And we can imagine the same thing will happen here. And 12 weeks, I think, is because you have. In terms of the first trimester abortion, from 1 to 9 weeks, you can take the abortion pill. But after that, you have to have a surgical procedure. Up to up to 9 to 14 weeks, and then there's another one after that. But once you have the 12-week in there, first trimester, you will be facilitating a surgical procedure. And once you have clinics opened up, then it's only a matter then of changing the law to allow it for other terms. And of course, they're talking about the law to allow for what they call fetal abnormalities, but we call them life-limiting conditions. That can be right up to birth. So therefore, all those procedures will have to be carried out. So I mean, it's very hard. Even when you go for your first scan, if you ever seen someone have a scan, I've seen 3 of them with my own children.
I haven't now.
It's amazing to see them at the 12-week mark, and you get in again at the 5-month mark, and it's amazing to see how rapidly they develop. But at that size, they are very much recognisable as human, very much. When they're, as I said, they're alive from day one. So obviously, I'd be opposed to it. I don't know.
Can I make one little point? Just because you reminded me of something. I just would like to share. And it's the woman, a former abortion worker. Her name was Myra Nair, and Myra describes the abortion of a mother with quadruplets at 15 weeks. When aborting them, the babies were desperately holding each other. And she said, this for me was unbearable to watch, and was the point of no return in the realisation I was killing innocent babies. And I think what something you said sparked that off in me, to see through this scanning, what you were talking about, they can see the baby and see how abortion affects them. Even, for example, there was another lady, Abby Johnson, a former abortion clinic director in the USA, and she said she watched an ultrasound-guided abortion procedure where a baby was frantically trying to escape a suction machine that would take its life, and then she realised she was doing something gravely wrong, and that it wasn't, like the slogans, pro-choice and so on. You need the facts.
You have these, it's an amazing, and it's lots of them. If you look into them, you'll have a lot of forms of abortionists suddenly becoming very pro-life, and I think one of the more recent ones, Dr. Anthony Levatino, he gave evidence to the Citizens' Assembly. It's an interesting video to watch, because you can watch the Assembly members looking at him very sternly, some of them flicking through their phones while he's talking, but you weren't allowed to show images or pictures because they don't want to see the reality of what he's talking about, so they were forbidden from the Citizens' Assembly. But he gave a very detailed talk about the procedures he used to be involved in. And the realisation that he realised he was taking life, and once he realised that, he stopped. He performed over 1,200 abortions. Prior to that, you had, I think, Bernard Nathanson, who actually campaigned in America for the Planned Parenthood crowd to get abortion. He was one of the main campaigners and pushers of it. Performed or oversaw, I think, something like 17 1,000 abortions, supervised them and carried out some of them himself. But it wasn't until the advent of ultrasound, and again an ultrasound assisted abortion, that he saw the baby trying to escape the clamps, and
sad to see.
And he completely did a U-turn and was pro-life and started campaigning to end the laws he helped bring in. So I mean, people need to understand that we're not just talking about an abortion is click, the baby's gone. There's a whole procedure that involves taking that life and removing that life.
And in other countries,
Because that's not always out there.
It's not.
You know, if you say you're pro-choice,
you just hear about those stories.
In Canada, I heard Ronan Mullen. He was speaking to William Binchy, I think. He was, but anyway, he was speaking to somebody who had been brought over, who was pro-choice, who would be an advocacy for abortion, an advocate for abortion, and he was asking her. She was Canadian, and he was asking her, was she aware of the 490 babies who had been born alive over, I think it was over a 10-year period in Canada, and left on the floor to die in the corners of hospitals, you know. Now, she couldn't answer the question. She tried to get away. She said, oh, well, our answer to that is more, we want the schools and everything to learn about preventing abortion, you know, through contraception and so on. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're talking about children actually alive and left to die simply because they don't have legal protection. I mean, where is the human right in that? And there's another thing here too about Irish doctors. A group of Irish doctors, they say that Irish doctors, by and large, like nearly 100% of them, do not want to be involved in abortion in this country, and they'll be thrown in against their will to carry these things out, like a Dr. Siobhan Crowley and obstetrician Dr. John Monaghan. They said that in recent days they were in touch with GPs, nurses, midwives and other healthcare colleagues around Ireland, and they confidently can say there's widespread opposition and concern within their profession about the government's proposals, you know. And like, you know, they talk about a right of conscience to say you don't want to be involved. But when it really comes down to it, when you're the nurse on the night and you have to, if you start objecting, we all know how things work in work. You can't be always a thorn in the side of the system, you know. So what's vital is that the system is good. If the system is good, everything works well.
In England, you can no longer object, as far as I know. One of our canvassers, although worked in a British hospital in the 70s, and she was able to object, and she wasn't required to proceed, but she'd be in the room where they bring in the machines and you see all the body parts, and she recalled an account where she did see a child left in a kidney dish, breathing, you know.
It's very hard to know.
She was told, you know, she wanted to pick it up, she didn't know what to do or react.
No option.
What's important to note about England as well is that they had less extreme abortion laws when it came in, and it's actually progressed so much there. So people are saying here, oh, it's only 12 weeks and it won't kind of progress at all. But actually, at the moment, they have over 200,000 abortions every year in England. Which is more than the amount of babies that are born in Ireland in a year.
So it will go the same way, you think, if it's...
Well, I think that it's definitely...
Well, actually, we could give a quote there too. Lord David Steele, the UK Government Health Minister, who introduced abortion in 1967, admitted in 1916 that he is shocked to realise the extent of abortion today, as it was supposed to be only very restrictive and limited, you know. But does this surprise any of us? It doesn't, you know. There are other forces that really want this to happen, you know.
You're changing it's a cultural shift, if you think about it. What you do with it, what you're telling people that the unborn child has no value and therefore can be disposed of, and that's what happens. And the more people believe that, the more you will see an increase in abortion.
Abortion generally affects minorities. You know, they're the ones who are most likely to be affected. And I read something there, if I can find it here. It's about, well, first of all, we have gender selection. I find that amazing that women, and if you don't mind me saying so, you're a student and all, I can't believe that students who always fought for civil rights have always been, you know, that's what we associate with students. And here are some of them going out looking for the right to kill. I mean, that's not a civil right. It's just, I think it's like absorbing a lot of propaganda that's out there. But African American babies have in New York, there are more abortions to Negro American babies than there are live births in New York. Imagine that. Now, wouldn't you wonder why that is?
Yeah.
And isn't it very much about like just trying to eliminate certain groups of people? Really, that's what it is about. It gives governments and bodies of power huge control over people. I hope you'll tell this to your students out in UL, you know, because maybe they'd be ideal to fight for a really good cause.
That's a valid point there, because Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, actually she was a eugenicist, and she was a fan of Adolf Hitler as well. I think she even sent a book of poetry at one point. But she had made it clear that she saw the Negro as being a weed, that's her language, and that the abortion and that would help control them and eliminate.
Okay. Yeah. That's right.
She saw it very much in those terms.
Mm-hmm.
And I think our government is looking at it in terms of population control, in terms of what they see a rising growth in poor people.
Yeah.
So you'll have less dependence on the state, maybe less, instead of thinking in a more positive way of how can we create a better society, how can we have more jobs, how can we have a happier people.
Yeah.
We'll have a call of the poor. And it's amazing to see the people on the left doing that as well. I would be on the left myself economically to some extent, but people who would say they're on the left, like the Labour Party and other socialist groupings, been very much about, and it's about I see it as calling the poor.
Yeah.
The
point you made, sorry, just to go back about like contraception and everything there, if the 8th Amendment was saved, do you think there should be more education on contraception?
Well, I'll answer first. I'm a bit older than Amy and Cathal. But what I would say is that, like, I grew up in the 70s. I was a teenager, the late 60s, 70s, and I don't think that I lacked any information. I just want to say that I lacked absolutely no information about contraception or anything else. And I would find it very hard to credit, and I find it amazing listening to politicians on about it, like that there is any lack of information.
Yeah.
Look at television. I mean, come on, we all know, everybody knows. Actually, what's happening now is that the innocence of very young children has been taken away by kind of agenda-driven things. I don't think it's right at all. Now, that's my little speak.
I do think that obviously it's important to inform kids and teenagers and adults all about contraception, but I do think that's out there at the moment as well.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, we all know as much as you can possibly know about contraception. So maybe they could introduce more information in schools, but I think actually schools get religious sex education, or what's it called?
Yeah,
or
they do.
Yeah. I think so. They get the talk, they get it in secondary as well, they get it, and I gave my own children the talk as well. I think people are very well informed.
Yeah,
about contraception.
Information is great, but propaganda is another thing.
So people saying that, we just need more education about it, that's not really true, I suppose.
Well, I don't think anybody, if you really took a genuine survey and asked people, that anybody would say, we don't know anything about,
I don't think there's anyone now thinks you can get pregnant from kissing.
No, I don't think so. I think children are telling us.
Make it more widely available or something for younger, or like teenagers maybe, or so, like, because it would probably lessen the amount of crisis pregnancies at teenage level maybe. So maybe they're just embarrassed to get it, or I don't know, maybe they could.
But look here, I hope I'm doing the right thing here saying, but I'm being honest, I'm older, a little bit older, but I think what I see now with my wisdom is that, I'd always have had it with my own children as well, that you learn people should also, teaching these things, teach people to value themselves and not sell themselves too cheaply. That I think there is a huge, I notice if ever I turn on television, there's always somebody talking about, grand, no consequences to actions. There are always some consequences to our actions. It's not popular to say it anymore because we want to, happy-go-lucky, we're all fine. But unfortunately, for example, down in the regional hospital in Limerick, they have STD clinics, And I believe that there used to be accommodation for doctors there, and now they had to close that to make way for the clinics. And I've heard people say, nurses come to me and say, if you saw the beautiful young people coming in there with one sexually transmitted disease after another, it's so sad. Now, I think that they should be informed a bit more about that. If you're talking about information, inform them about those things so that they can protect themselves. It's such a waste of a beautiful life, you know. It really is. They carry these heavy burdens after, and there's a pretense that, you know, that this everything is fine. We have to be careful. We all have to be careful.
Get the education at home is important as well. Don't be just dependent on the schools, you know. I had the talk with my two older boys. My younger boy will get it when he's 10 as well. I have to let them know what about sex, and before they hit puberty, I think is a better time to tell them, so they'll be fully aware. And when they get older, as continuing into teenage lives, to have respect for their own bodies and the bodies of others, you know. But women aren't pieces of meat for their pleasure. That's something as well that has to be learned, and you know,
needs to be brought in at home.
And of course, the opposite is true as well. Other people are encouraged to view women in a certain way, and women are to view themselves in that way. So it's a whole different discussion there. But,
I do think as well,
it's a real
just as we're
abuse of
talking
women.
about women's rights and everything, like, I mean, I really think that's important, but I also think in relation to abortion that men have rights also, and you know that realistically the man and the woman have involvement in creating that child, and it's not fair, I think, that men have absolutely no rights within the pro-choice domain. Really, they're technically the father. Well, they are the father of that child. They have, you know, they're like halfway involved in creating the child. So it's unfair, I think, to that a man should have no rights. Absolutely.
There's some people as well that say, like men shouldn't really have an opinion in that. It's women's body and that.
But you know, I like that. I'm a woman, and I've never been a shrinking violet in the sense that my experience of men has been very good. My father, my husband, my brothers, and so on, you know. But I think it is wrong to have this kind of feminazi approach that some women, and only some, and again it's like what we were going back to earlier, the more vocal women, you know, through the media we're hearing this all the time, you know. But like the lovely women, young girls out there, young men, you know, I think like we're getting the wrong, we're hearing this, but it's not what the people are on the ground.
I'd imagine in other countries there are a lot of fathers that be really heartbroken at the thoughts of their partner or whoever they got pregnant, that they're going to abort that child, you know. And I do think that people need to think a bit more about the fathers as well, I suppose.
I think in a lot of cases though as well, it's the man putting pressure on the woman to have the abortion also.
We forget about that too. Women
there's
can
kind
be,
of two sides to it,
there is, very much.
So,
would you say a part of your campaign now in Limerick that you'd be kind of trying to change people's minds, or do you think that people who have, like maybe people who are on the fence, but people who have their minds made up, do you think there's any way to change their minds at this point?
we had our last street outreach in Adair last week. We'll be in the city this week, and I encountered two pro-choice, adamant pro-choice, and we were having a discussion. They walked away from me before I could actually talk around. They just wanted to come over and make points, and when I started to respond to their points, they were gone. I've said whatever, dismissed me and stormed off, because I didn't react, I suppose, or didn't give them the answer they had expected. The main work we're doing is trying to, now all the campuses have these models as well when they're going door to door, and we have models on the street as well, and it's to try to explain to people that the unborn child is alive and it's human. And it's and it's wrong to take a human life. And so we have a variety of literature that people can come and take. So overall, I would say that the engagement with the public has been very positive. The response has been positive. We do get a little bit of negativity, but not a lot. And the engagement with the pro-choice is angry. Sometimes they're very angry with the
And then if you saw pro-choice kind of people there, if you went over, would you want to engage and have a discussion then yourselves?
Very much so. Very happy to, and to listen to them, or to offer them a booklet with more information, more of the facts, in case they haven't read them. But very often you have people who are just, they won't look. you know, and maybe they have their own reasons too. I mean, in just from my own experience in canvassing, I think there are a couple of things happen. One is you give voice to people who, going back to that same theme, have no voice. They say, oh, thank God, what are we going to do? We're listening to this, thank God you're out, and it's great, you know, and oh no, we're definitely for life. You've others. I remember one particular man, I came to his door and I said, we just were wondering, would you accept this booklet and maybe you could read? There's a lot of information about this amendment that's coming up. First he was smiling before he saw it, and then he caught the booklet and he fired it at me. Now maybe his girlfriend had an abortion in the past, maybe he had a partner who had, maybe he had put pressure on someone. You never know what's behind the reasons why people have that anger. Yeah. But generally speaking, if you have a different view to somebody, you wouldn't be angry about it. You just give your view and that. Yeah. But we would find that the few that we meet, you know, who are in favour of repealing the Eighth Amendment, they tend to be furious.
I think some people demand you need to validate their opinion.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And I think some women who, and I think it's because they've been hurt by abortion. I did encounter two ladies in our street one time that they had abortions and they were coming over being unapologetic about it, and at the end it said, look, I don't agree that what you did was right, and I'm not here to validate your actions. Yeah. You have to live with your actions. Mm. That's all I would say to them. I mean, we're being pushy and vicious and they were looking to to provoke me and the people, the women that were at the stand at the time. They didn't provoke us, but it was actually very sad to see. Yeah. They were getting more and more worked up because they wanted us to validate what they had done.
I suppose they could just come over, tell you their opinion and whatever in a calm kind of way as well, just talk to you, I suppose.
At the end of the day, we're not going out shouting and roaring at people about our opinions. So I suppose it's nice to kind of have that mutual respect. I respect other people's right to have an opinion, and I expect the same.
But there's probably that, there's an element of guilt, and you want, as you say, someone to validate but we're here to speak for the voiceless one. Yeah. And she has no voice. Yeah. So that's why we're here. Okay. You know, but I mean, it's not about judgment of the mother. Yeah. You know, we're not setting ourselves up as, you know, finger pointing. Not at all, you know. But we don't want this protection for human rights to be lost. And we believe it will affect all human rights. You know.
Would you say anything? Oh, sorry.
We'll of course come back because it's about the value of human life, and we'll be devaluing human life. And once you start down that road, you start devaluing it further and further and further. It's up for discussion all the time. Once you can devalue it at its beginning, you can devalue it all the way.
Yeah. So. Would you say anything then to the student population of Limerick then regarding the referendum?
Well, I'll just say I don't know how relevant. I would say I'm dying to say it, so I'll say it. I'd like to say, have a microphone and speak to them and say, waken up, look around, look what's happening around you. This is not about empowering women. Killing people will never empower women, you know. And if you had bad experience with men in your lives, don't copy them. Don't try to be like them. Be something greater. Be fine. Be absolutely fine. And look back to the 17th, 18th, 19th centuries when all these slavery was the big issue, apartheid in South Africa after that. Now we have civil rights, abortion. You know, let women be out there standing up for life.
And I'd probably just say as well that to kind of inform yourself when you're going out to vote. You know, there's a lot of information out there on both sides, and I would really just think that it's important to inform yourself. And just as a quick note as well, recently there was a Supreme Court judgment made, and they said that the defining event of someone's life is birth. So that's really important in this debate as well, because we have to understand as well that the government, if the Eighth is to be repealed, they're going to be able to, you know, advocate the legislation whatever way they want to, really. Yeah. So I think it's just important to note that, and you know, that you might think we're going in on this kind of 12 weeks on demand kind of thing, but the government will actually, if the Eighth is repealed, they'll be able to
they're disempowering people, really. That's what they're doing.
And we're lucky in this country, we really are, with the constitution that we have. And you know, sometimes it's kind of made out that Ireland isn't modern at all because of these kind of things that are in our constitution. But we're lucky because, you know, Ireland was actually one of the first countries to give women the rights to vote, and we are also one of the only countries that have this constitution where everybody has to vote on something that's changed in it. So we're really lucky in that way. So I would just say, you know, think about that vote that you have, that's important, you know. So
I just said to remind students, you know, look into the science. Life does begin at conception. You can't deny the facts. Just don't deny the facts. Life begins at conception. All human life has value. We should value all human life. That's what's best for our society. Don't devalue human life.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add? Anything else you want to include that we didn't cover?
Maybe do you need our names introduced for at some
names?
point? Yeah.
I can see. I was going to do. I'll just stop the recording there.
Yeah.
I'm going to do. We're going to do like a voiceover, anyways, introducing everyone's names.
Right.
So if I just take them down, anyways, I have yours.
Okay.
Will you take me yours again? Sorry.
Antoinette Fitzgibbon.
Okay. And Amy, is it?
Amy Hayes, yeah. You
Hayes.
can give me a secret identity.
Guys, thank you so much for that. For taking up so much of your time.
No,
But it was really,
thanks
really
a lot.
insightful to hear and everything.
Perfect.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
guys.
Hopefully,
I hope
make a difference.
we tend to go on a bit, don't we?
There's so much to say, and you're so passionate.
I probably should have said as well. I mean, I used to be pro-choice as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I keep forgetting to say that in interviews. I'm coming from a pro-choice perspective originally, and I've changed my view. So it is actually possible to change your view once you're aware of what the fact. No, some people who are pro-choice know it's human, know what they're doing, they know it's killing, and that doesn't bother them.
Yeah.
So there's people who are like that. I would have been one of the people who was dismissive.
Yeah, the fear factor too.
Whatever. It's just to come to sense now in a person.
When you don't know.
That's now in my 20s. I would have been now. So I've been pro-life since. But then obviously to the extent where I became an activist.
Yeah.
So
But actually, we're not recording or anything.
No.